Started on our off week prep, bye week prep today. The guys had good energy. We didn't have a great practice, but we had good energy, and that was important. We're really working hard on conditioning and connection, trying to get some guys healthy and well, but also get some good work in. Our offensive and defensive coaches have targeted some areas, each one different areas. Some I can share, some I can't, that we want to work on to get better at, and then special teams as well. So we kind of take a picture of where we are, what we can do better, and how we can practice it better to maybe get better results. And that's what we started on today. We do work on future opponents. So we worked on a team that's further out today, and then a little less further out tomorrow, and then we'll start on Florida prep probably Wednesday or Thursday, tomorrow or Thursday. So that'll open it up.
Coach, how far along was Lawson? I know he's played in the last couple of games, and you mentioned him briefly in the postgame. Where's Lawson Lucky at in his comeback? And can you fast track a guy like that? Is that a good term, or is that not really?
You don't fast track an injury, really any injury. You do what the medical staff tells you and what the body tells you. Lawson's done a fabulous job rehabbing from his, and Lawson's a really tough kid. Both parents were college athletes. He's not afraid of work, and he's done a great job. So I still don't think Lawson's 100%, if that's what you're asking, but he is definitely, he's been cleared to play. Technically since Auburn, he's been cleared to play, but he just hadn't quite been ready to play.
Yeah, Coach, going back and watching it, it seemed like the playing surface might have been an issue, guys slipping, multiple injuries. I'm just curious your thoughts on the playing surface Saturday.
Yeah, I don't get much into that. I hadn't read that anywhere, seen that anywhere. I mean, we had guys slip, sure. We have guys slip every time we play on turf. Actually, there was a game, I can't remember who Kentucky was playing, but I counted like 15 times people slipped in one of the Kentucky games before we played them, and I thought, well, that was Kentucky at home. I think just traditionally, a lot of our college teams don't practice or play much on turf, and when they do, they traditionally have they slip more. We did a big surface study last year that we're looking into to get our indoor better up to date, because ours is I think on year 9 or 10 and maybe 8 or 9, and we're looking at this monofilament that more of the NFL teams are going to. That's actually what Vandy has, I think. So it's very standard.
Coach, a lot has happened with Brock since we last talked to you up in Nashville. Just wondering if you can kind of be specific with us on what he's dealing with. Was it in fact the tightrope surgery? And then obviously you're talking about a guy like him with unlimited NFL potential. How are you weighing that against trying to come back and win a championship?
Yeah, I don't think it's much about any of that as it is the more I've learned, and I've slowly become a bigger expert on this tightrope surgery, not because of Brock, because we've had multiple other guys, and so have other teams. I've talked to Hugh Freeze, Shane, several of the guys, in our conference have dealt with this injury. It's much more common. It's all over the NFL, so it's happening at a higher rate, I guess you would say, and a lot of studies have been done on it. And philosophically, to get healthy, you need to get back moving that ankle as soon as you can, meaning get on it, get weight bearing, move around. And we've had guys going through this process. So Brock will take on that same rehab process, and his surgeon and Ron will work together on that, and it won't be done any different. The key is that we are trying to get him back healthy. There is no timeline for when he comes back to play. The timeline is when he's healthy. And I don't think you can put a timeline on it, because historically there's been guys that came back really fast, and there's been guys that come back really slow. Each one's been different.
Could we give an update on Xavier Truss? Was his a high ankle sprain also, and what is the availability for him with Florida and Amarius Mims as well?
Yeah, don't know. Truss did not practice today, but Truss was weight bearing, second half of the game. He was on the sideline and over there, and his deltoid was a little bit hurt, but it's not tightrope or anything like that. We think he should be fine and should be good to go. I don't know if he'll be good to go by Thursday, but should be good to go by Monday. And Mims is working his way back. He's weight bearing, he's running, he's moving around. I thought he looked much better yesterday when we did some stretch and stride stuff. He's been out there at practice, but hadn't taken any reps. But it's going to be a timetable on him for the same as everybody else with those injuries. When they're cleared and they're comfortable and they can play at a winning rate, they'll get a chance to go back out there.
With Brock being out, who are you really looking at to step up and fill that hole on offense?
Yeah, I talked to the team about, coached football 25 years, and every year you have different challenges. And this year is no different than any other year. The challenges are only different. And so one of our big key DNA traits is resiliency. So this team has been extremely resilient. I 100% confidence they'll be resilient. And if they think that one guy's going to replace Brock Bowers, they're wrong. And if anybody thinks they got to be Superman, they don't need to be on our team because they'll be disappointed. Superman is not real. He's dead. He's not alive. So he's not real. So you can't try to be that guy. So there's no player that we're asking to step up and do more than you can. As a collective effort, every player's going to do more. That includes defense getting turnovers, special teams getting better field position, other guys' opportunities to touch the ball and make the most of it.
Kirby, was Kendall able to go today? Just what's the latest on that?
He did some stuff. He was able to go out there and practice. I feel good about Kendall. It was not a high rep day for him, no, but he was out there. I'm pretty sure he went. I think he did.
Hey Kirby, have you spoken with Brock after surgery and just mentally and emotionally, how's he doing? I'm sure this is a tough thing for him to be going through.
Brock Bowers is great. Brock Bowers is rock solid. He wanted to get the thing done as soon as he found out it had to be done, and we were able to expedite that process, and he's great. He's looking everybody in the eye today and wishing he could be out there. So he's in great spirits. He's got great family. He's got a great heart. I mean, he's a warrior, so he'll handle it the right way.
Yeah, Coach, you had a chance to evaluate him. Just curious how you thought Monroe Freeman, responded to having him get thrown into action.
Yeah, you get thrown in there, and it's great because about 3 weeks ago I called him in and told him, I said, Monroe, you realize you're one play away, and every rep you take in practice, you should be imagining that you're, road game in there on the stadium and ready to go. And sure enough, it happened, and I thought he did a good job. There's a lot of things he could work on, but there's butterflies in there. Fortunately, he had gotten to play in some games, but not in that situation. So I was thrilled that he got to go out there and get some confidence and go play. He's a really good athlete, and he's a worker, so he'll work really hard to get better.
Coach, you've obviously spoken with a lot of admiration for Brock, not just the player, but the person. So for you as, not the coach, but the person, to see him have to deal with this, what is that like for you?
Well, I mean, it's hard on me for Maurice Mims. It's hard on me for Lawson Lucky. It's hard on me for Branson Robinson. So I don't mean that in any negative way towards Brock, but there's a lot of guys on our team that have been dinged up and hurt. I mean, Tygram Dawkins hadn't been able to go the entire year. I mean, he went one game, I guess, and then we had to shut him down. So, Brock's aware that other guys have to deal with this too. And we have, at one time, I think 7 or 8 starters that had been out, and I have empathy for all of them, not one more than the other. I don't look at Brock's as more significant because he's a greater player asset. They all have value. We got walk-on kids that are having to have surgery, so it's tough anytime a player loses practice time and play time.
I know earlier you said there's no Superman, especially when it comes to replacing a guy like Brock, but with Oscar Delp stepping into a bigger role, what do you tell him and what have you seen from him as he gets sort of prepared to do that? Obviously knowing that he shouldn't feel the pressure to try and be Brock.
Yeah, he's not in a bigger role. He's in the same role he was in, which is to help our team. I don't believe that for 1 second that he's in a bigger role. The plays that you design, guys, I think y'all think of them as Brock plays. There are a lot of positions that can be in those spots. Delp could be in those spots. Dom could be in those spots. Dylan Bell could be in those spots. Marcus Rosaby could be in those spots. Our offense is not built around like one person doing one thing. It's built around plug in, and you can do it in 10 personnel, you can do it in 11 personnel, you can do it in 13 personnel. And I think every offense that's a good offense is that way. Because if you limit yourself to just one player, then I mean we've had scenarios and catastrophe plans that are like, what if this happens in a game? What is our answer? We went immediately to that answer and said these are the things we have to do. So I'm not going that route on the Oscar Delp thing, because Oscar Delp's got to do what he's always done: is play as hard as he can and play winning football.
Coach, a two-parter for you. One, after the game, you mentioned how Coach Bobo needs guys available to work him into the scheme. How is Ladd doing on the comeback? He's an explosive player. And then two, just initial thoughts on Florida. I know you haven't dove into that game plan yet.
Yeah, I can't give you comments on Florida. I've been able to watch a couple games. I've watched other teams, and I'll watch more as the week goes. As far as Ladd, he did well today. He practiced today, and probably did more today than what he's done on the Tuesdays in the past. But he also had Monday and Sunday off, so feel good about where he's at, but also it's day to day.
Yeah, Coach, I believe in your opening statement you mentioned some objectives for both offense and defense that you're willing to, reveal. What are some of those things you want to see this team do better at?
Well, the obvious, the areas that we can improve in defensively, red areas, a key area, enforcing more turnovers is a huge area. Offensively, the ability to run the ball, be explosive running the ball. We want to continue to do that, and improving in the red area where we've had games that we were elite offensively in the red area, and then we've had games where we were forced to kick field goals, and it usually came by way of losing first and second down, not really third down. So those are areas that we can get better at, and special teams is kind of one by one. There's some things we can do better.
It's a little bit the same question I had, but as far as red zone defense specifically, I guess what are some of the issues you're seeing in that area of the field that's maybe keeping off from as much success as y'all had in years past?
It's hard to pinpoint, because every game has been a different person or a different thing. There is no common theme. There's no they're throwing it over our head. Well, this guy's a weakness and he's getting beat. No, everybody's taking turns. This guy got beat, he had bad eyes. This guy had great leverage, he got beat. This guy gave up a run in his gap, he didn't run the right stunt. And then sometimes they just whip you. They whip you. South Carolina ran it in on us, and we say at Georgia, we're not going to let you run it in. Well, some teams have.
Yeah, after getting a chance to review the tape and seeing him now start 7 games, what is your impression of Carson Beck and how he's grown to this point in the season?
Yeah, he plays very consistent winning football when he plays within the system. I think sometimes when he tries to do too much, he gets himself in trouble. But he's played at a really high level to me. Like a 90% success rate, and keeping the 10% from being catastrophic is critical, because that's the ones you want to get back. And then if he can take those 10% and throw them away, then keep his 90% and his accuracy, we're going to be good offensively when he's good.
Kirby, we've seen Mackay have a few muff punts at this point. Does anything need to change on that front, or is it just a matter of decision making and going through that process for him?
You ever caught one?
No.
You ever caught a rugby left-footed in the wind?
Nope.
I have. I'm glad I'm not back there, and I'm glad Muse is. So I trust him, and I think I got a lot of confidence in him. But until you've gone back there and seen Tim Wakefield's knuckleball do this through the wind, because the other option is don't catch it. I don't think that's a good option either, because the ball rolls. So check college football right now and see how many drops and fumble punts there are. They're not your traditional kickoff, and they're not your traditional spirals. They're really hard to catch, and I'm proud of what he's done.
Well, we talked with Smile after the game. Can you comment on his performance at this point in the season? And one thing Smile told us was there were some communication breakdowns that are pretty uncharacteristic for your defenses. Can you comment on those two things?
Well, I don't know what he's referring to. When you say communication breakdowns, I don't. We didn't have a bust in coverage. We just had a rule that 2 guys were on the same page. I wouldn't call it a bust. But Smile's been a good leader. Smile's closer to 100%. I think he He played early in the camp on an injury that, you know, a lot of people take a long time to come back from. I think he made it back in 4 months and was able to go play early in the season. And he's like, the early season was like his camp. He didn't get a camp to go through. And he's back up to speed and doing a good job. And I think he's really wanting to have a good back half of the season and play more physical, play faster. So counting on him to do that.
Kirby, you guys have gone without impactful offensive players the last couple of seasons due to injury. Is that something you guys can lean on in terms of knowing that, you know, Barrett's different obviously, but is there anything instructive about that?
I don't know. I don't know that I would agree with that statement. We've always had somebody that was impactful. I think you may be referencing George or some of those guys, but we've always had other guys that were impactful, and I still think we have impactful players on our offense now. So we've got good football players, and our guys are excited for the opportunity, and we got good coaches that'll find ways to get good players in football.
Kirby, how confident would you say you are that Brock will be back in a Georgia uniform at some point this season?
You really think I'm going to answer that question? I mean, like, is that all this is about? Like, you guys, all y'all want to talk about is whether he's going to be back or not. That's not, like, that is the furthest thing from my concern. My concern is this team and getting Brock Bowers healthy. And this team and getting Brock Bowers healthy. Like, to answer that question is speculative. I'm not going to speculate.
Coach, you've been pretty good in 2 minutes the last couple of weeks right before the half. What's been the key to you guys, you know, being successful in those critical moments in the game?
Getting the ball back for the offense to let them go 2 minutes. They have been good. We've historically been good here. The middle eight numbers have been really good for us, and this year was probably our worst year, middle eight, but it was good Saturday, and it was the difference in the game. So, I mean, getting the ball back is the biggest thing to get them going, get them started.
Good time. 2 more questions?
And I'm sure you do your best to ignore it, but there's been a lot of doubt cast on Georgia's way losing a player like Brock. Is that maybe something you guys can use as fuel to sort of, you know, say, hey, we're more than just one great player on this team?
I don't know. You said it. I mean, I don't think we need that to have motivation or I mean, the motivation is to be great. You know, I don't know if it creates that edge or what, but I'm just focused on what we're going to do tomorrow.
Coach, it's always hit or miss when that bye week falls. You kind of laid out the plan for the staff, for the players, obviously kind of a different routine. What's kind of the focus you want them to have kind of the back half of the week going into next week?
The back half of the week will be about Florida. The front half of the week will be about us. And the focus is on us and how we can get better.
Thank you.